going to continue this series, Extraordinary Relationships, today. Somebody yelled at me last week after church, and they were like, hey, like, that message, like, can you talk about, you know, when other people do stuff and what they need to do instead of just how I need to handle myself? I'm like, listen, like, we preface the series. It's going to be a good series, but it's going to be a difficult series because the reality is we can't control other people. We are only responsible to control ourselves. And so as followers of Jesus, the life we live is to not worry about what other people are doing, but to worry about what we are doing and how we can handle ourselves. And if you missed week 1, I strongly encourage you to catch up, to watch online. You can go to elevationpoint.church/watch. You can watch online. You can download the Elevation Point Church app on iPhone and Android. You can listen to the podcast if you want to, driving down the road, whatever it is. But I encourage you to catch last week's message somehow, some way. It's on YouTube as well. You just search Elevation Point Church. You'll find us, find all the messages there. I'm going to encourage you to do that. But today we're going to continue on in this series in Luke chapter number 23. Luke chapter number 23, we'll start at verse number 33. And in Luke 23:33, we see that Jesus is on a cross, right? He's been crucified. He is still alive. He has not died. And he's on this cross, and he looks to his left and he looks to his right, and he sees 2 other men. He sees 2 criminals who had done some things that were wrong, but Jesus, of course, had not. So he's on this cross. He looks to his left, he looks to his right, and he sees these other people. And it says in verse number 33 that when they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on his left and one on his right. Got a little dyslexic there for a minute. It was the right and then the left, but neither matters. Jesus said, in verse 34, Jesus said, Father, forgive them. Forgive them. Now, can you forgive people who haven't even asked for forgiveness? Can you forgive people who are still in the process of doing the thing that you're forgiving them for? Jesus is on this cross that they've put him on, and they're yelling at him. They're insulting him. They're saying all these mean things. He's been crucified, and he looks at him and he's like, hey, forgive them. He says, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Can you imagine this? Like, I want to picture this. I know it's not Easter Sunday, right? But just picture this for a moment. Jesus is on the cross, and he looks to his left, and he looks to his right, and he sees 2 criminals. Then he looks down, and he sees all of these people who are yelling at him, who are cursing him, who are throwing things at him. And he looks at him, and in other words, Jesus finds himself in a place that he does not belong. Jesus had done nothing to deserve being crucified on this cross in this moment. He had done nothing. He wasn't a criminal. He hadn't done anything to these people. All he was doing was trying to help them. And he finds himself in this situation that he never should have been in. And his response, though, was not up to them. His response was up to himself. And the same is true for us. It is up to us how we respond. No doubt, many of us have found ourselves in circumstances and situations that we do not deserve to be in. Anybody ever had somebody break your heart? Yeah, some of y'all are like, nah, I'm good. I break hearts, you know? But like, yeah, if you're honest, like, you've had your heart broken, okay? Anybody ever had somebody like you were friends with, somebody in your family, somebody that did you wrong, that backstabbed you, did something you didn't want, right? And in those moments, our natural, like, flesh, if we're going to respond the way we want to, is like, I got you back, or we're doing, you know, whatever. But as Jesus followers, our responsibility is to say, I forgive you. Jesus is on the cross, and he looks at him and he says, hey, I forgive you. He finds himself in a situation that he did not deserve. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't deserve to be in this situation that you're treating me like this, so I have a right to do something about it. Jesus is in a circumstance that he does not deserve. And we too, we get to choose how we handle conflict. We get to choose how we handle pain. We get to choose how we handle rejection. We get to choose how we handle being disappointed. It is up to us to choose it. We may not be able to choose what is done to us, but we do get to choose our response. The saying goes, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, not do unto others as they have done to you. So for this second week of Extraordinary Relationships, sorry, but we're going to continue on the same train we were on last week. And we're going to talk on this subject. It's up to you. It's up to you. Somebody say, hey, it ain't their fault. It ain't their fault. It's up to me. It's up to me. All right, let's pray. God, I thank you for today. I thank you for your word. Thank you that we have the opportunity to gather together today, to be here today, to hear from you, to worship you. I pray, Lord, that you would help all of us to hear and see from you. Help nobody to see and hear from me today, but to hear what you have to say. Help us to apply it to our lives so that we can see the change and the love that we want to see. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Now, how many of you have ever had this happen? You ever had a time in your life where you found something, you were looking for something, and then you found it in a place that wasn't where you expected it to be? Anybody like the remote control or your wallet or your keys, something like that? Like, like you thought it was in one place, and then you got to looking, and it wasn't where you thought it was going to be. Now, here's the thing. I'm the type person, I'm like borderline OCD. I like to know where everything is all the time, right? I put things back where I got them from. I don't just let things, go somewhere and then, I'll put it back eventually. No, it's like before I go to bed, right? And I had to learn, like with our kids, that I got to let kids be kids, because it's like when they're done playing with the toy and they wanted to go to another, I wanted to say, hey, you need to put this toy up before you play with that toy. And they're like, no, but I'm playing with both of them together because like this one's working. I just had to learn to let kids be kids. But another thing I learned is that you have no control over where kids put things. Right? Like you have where you want it to go and where you want it to be. You have no control over where they put it. And back when our oldest son, Judah, was the only kid we had, back in the simpler days, when he was the only one we had, and he had just kind of started to learn how to walk a little bit, and he was toddling around and whatnot, he was playing one day, and the thing about Judah is I know where all of his stuff goes, right? Back then, I knew where every toy went. I put every toy up. At the end of the day, I would do the dishes, and I'd clean up the house and put the toys up. Nicole would give Judah a bath, get him ready for bed, then we'd put him to bed. It was like our routine. So since I always put the toys up, I knew where the toys went. But on this particular evening, Judah had put a toy somewhere. I absolutely had no idea where it was. And I knew it was missing. It was this orange drumstick, okay, a plastic orange drumstick. And I knew it was missing because I had one drumstick. And I know you need two drumsticks. So I'm looking for the drumstick, and I can't find it anywhere. I look under the couch. I look in all of his normal hiding places. I can't find it. So I'm like, you know what? It's all good. I'll just look for it tomorrow. So I let it go. Fast forward to the next morning. We get up, 5 o'clock, me and Nicole, we get up, we get dressed, we go into the kitchen. I pull out the toaster oven out of the cabinet, the lower cabinet, put it on top of the countertop. I put a bagel in there for her, start it up, go about the rest of our routine. Judah is asleep, okay? That's very, very important. When the kid is sleeping, you let them sleep. You make sure they continue to sleep. You don't rock the boat. And so Judah's asleep, and I go about my regular routine, and I feed the dogs. I let the dogs out. And then I come back inside, and I hear Nicole say, babe, the toaster oven is on fire. And I freaked out because all I could think is the smoke detector's going to go off, and Judah's going to wake up. And so I'm panicking. So I'm opening the doors. I'm trying to get the smoke out of the door, and I go and I unplug the toaster oven, and then I open the toaster oven door and smoke starts flying out. So I close it back. I'm like, we'll deal with that in a minute. And I'm just trying to get the smoke everywhere. I turn on the microwave ventilation fan thing and all this jazz. And I sit there and I'm looking at it for 3 minutes. The smoke detector never goes off, and I'm watching, and I look, and I see this orange thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, babe, it's still on fire. It's unplugged. What's going on? About 5 minutes later, the smoke had died down. I opened up the toaster oven, and I said, babe, I found the missing drumstick. Because Judah, the night before, had opened the cabinet door, opened the toaster oven, put the drumstick in there, closed the toaster oven door, closed the cabinet door, and then went somewhere else, so I didn't even know he had been over there. It's like he was trying to burn the house down. And so I told her, I said, I found the drumstick. But now y'all understand. See, because some of y'all were judging me. You're like, oh, why do you care where everything goes? Que sera, whatever will be, will be. Now you know why I want to know where everything is. Because it avoids unnecessary catastrophes like burning your house down, right? If you know where it's at. So I told Nicole, I was like, this is why I like for nothing to be out of place. It's safety measures. But where Judah had put the drumstick was not where it was supposed to be. It was in a different place. He had put it in a place that it didn't belong. And in this text today, we see Jesus in a place that he does not belong. We see him out of place. Jesus, the Savior of the world, who loved all, who cared for all, who healed all, who's done all these things, is on the cross that he does not belong. He was out of place. And the first thing I want you to write down today, if you're taking notes, is out of place. By the way, I encourage you to take notes, and I encourage you to write down the scriptures and to go and read them yourself at a later date so that you know we're not just saying things up here, but you can see it in the word for yourself. But Jesus was out of place. It said in verse number 33, it says, when they came to the place called the skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Jesus was in between two criminals, but Jesus wasn't a criminal. They put Jesus in a place that he did not belong. And maybe that's happened to you. Like maybe you've been placed somewhere that you don't belong at some point in life. You ever been out of place? Right? You ever been put into a situation, into a confrontation, into a fight, into an argument, into a broken heart, into a lost relationship? You ever been put into something that you did not feel like you deserved? A place that you did not belong? Had somebody that treated you poorly or didn't do things right, and you're looking around and you're wondering, like, how did I end up in this place? How did I end up facing what I'm facing? I didn't do anything to you. I didn't hurt you. I didn't say anything about you. I'm just minding my own business, living my life, and then you thought that I looked at you a certain way, but I didn't look at you a certain way, and then you want to come say something. And it's like, how did I end up in this place? Like, I'm a very chill person. Like, for me personally, I'm very, like, chill, laid back. I'm minding my business, right? My friend Trey, he's taught me, hey, if you see something going down, you just turn and go the other way. It's like, that's not your business. So whenever somebody does something to me, it really bothers me to my core because I'm like, I wasn't doing anything. And many of us have had times in our lives where we look around and we're like, how did I end up in this situation that I'm in? Jesus had done nothing wrong, but he was being treated like he had done everything wrong. And I'll be the first to admit, okay? There are some times in our lives where we end up in a difficult place that we belong. Because our mouth got away from us a little bit, we said some things, maybe we reacted a little bit. Like, we've ended up in some difficult places that we belong to be, that we deserve to be in. Like, we belong in that place. We're not out of place. Like, hey, like I told you I will fight you, and you took me seriously, and so now I'm where I belong, right? Like that, like I shouldn't have said it, okay? We've ended up in some places that we have to look around, and it's like, I don't like it, but yeah, I deserve to be here. But what about the times when we look around and we have no idea how we ended up in the place that we're at, where you can't figure out why you are going through what you are going through? Maybe you're there today. Maybe you feel like when you look around, you're in a place, you're in a season, you're in a situation that you do not deserve, that you didn't ask for, that you didn't sign up for, that you didn't deserve to be in, but somebody or something placed you there. And God, it's like, God, I understand why I end up in some places that I end up in, but how did I end up here? I understand that sometimes I say some things that stir some stuff up, but how did I end up here? And we're looking around and it's like trying to figure out why we are in the place that we're at. It's like, God, my spouse and I, we pray together, we go to church together, and we're still struggling. How did it end up like this? God, I try to get my finances right. I try to make sure every dollar's accounted for. I'm not wasteful. I tithe. I give to those in need. I do all this stuff. And I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. God, I tried raising my children right. I tried taking them to church. I tried telling them the right things to do. And they're still acting crazy. God, I tried to have a good career. I tried to do all these things. And I've shown myself approved and done all this stuff, and I'm still unemployed. And it's like, how did I end up in the place? How did I land in a place that I don't belong? Nobody's ever felt that way before? Like, how did I end up here? There's been seasons, there's been times that I deserved it, but God, like, how did I end up in a place that I don't belong? But the good news is, even though you may not belong in that place, it does not mean that you're in the wrong place. And it sounds like a contradiction, but it is exactly what happened to Jesus. Jesus did not belong on the cross, but Jesus was exactly where he needed to be to do what he was brought to this earth to do. Does not mean it didn't hurt. Does not mean it was easy. Does not mean that Jesus enjoyed it and that he was up on the cross saying, I'm having a great time. But it means that it was divine. He didn't belong there, but he was supposed to be there because it was divine. We all love the places that we don't belong, but God gets us there that are good. It's like, oh, that's a divine moment. But sometimes we end up in a place that we don't belong, but it's good, because it's where we're supposed to be to do what God's called us to do, and it's divine. And I don't know about you, but as long as I know that I'm in a divine moment with a divine purpose, then I feel like I could probably go through anything. Even if I deserve it, even if I don't, I can go through anything as long as I know that it is a divine moment from God. Jesus was on this cross that they put him on to try to hurt him. And some things have been done in your life, no doubt, to try to hurt you. But what they did not realize is that in trying to hurt Jesus by putting him on the cross, they really helped Jesus by getting him to the place that he needed to be. They tried to hurt him. They tried to bring him down, but all they did was help him to get exactly where he needed to be in order to see what God was wanting to do. And a lot of the people in your life that say things to you, that do things to you, that might have left you, that might have stabbed you in the back, that might have betrayed you, a lot of the people in your life that you were so upset about because of what they did to you, and you sat there and had a pity party, if you would look back, you would see, actually, God was doing me a favor because he was getting me to the place that I needed to be. Back about 9, 10, some years ago, I experienced heartbreak like I had never experienced in my entire life. And I was broken, and I thought it was over, and I was like, God, I didn't do anything to deserve this. I've been trying to live for you. I've been trying to do everything you wanted me to do, but all it did was get me into the place that I needed to be in order to see what God had for me. But we get so caught up in what it feels like in the moment and what we're facing in the moment, and we miss the divine thing that God is trying to do through the pain, through the adversity. They thought that they were ending Jesus, that they were going to finish him, and that they were hurting him by placing him in a situation that he didn't belong. It's over. Like, they're literally, like, nobody there that day that was cursing Jesus, throwing things at him, crucifying him on the cross, thought that he was going to rise again. Can we all agree on that? Because how crazy would that have been? Oh yeah, I want you to die, and I know you're gonna come back and, it's good. But no, nobody that day, they thought they were ending Jesus. They thought they were hurting Jesus, and they threw accusations at him. And Jesus showed up and he said, listen, he said, thank you for getting me exactly where I needed to be in order to do what I was placed on this earth to do. You threw accusations, you threw unkind words, you threw insults at me, you threw comments at me, but it moved me to the place that I needed to be. It moved me into the situation that I needed to be in. You threw shame at me, but it moved me to the place I need to be in. Listen, don't ever be ashamed for the place that you're at. Don't ever be ashamed for the place that you are at. Even if people try to tell you that you need to be ashamed, don't ever be ashamed, because the enemy will try to shame you in the place that God most wants to use you. Many of us, we've been shamed by other people for all these things, and God is saying that's the very place that I'm wanting to use you to help others that are in need, who are going through things. And some of our greatest gifts and our greatest purposes come through things and situations and places that other people say that we should be ashamed of. Wow, that's good. That we should be hiding from, that we should be hiding. And we got to get to a place where we stop fighting it and that we embrace it. And that we understand just because things are not going the way that we wanted and the way that we planned, it doesn't mean that they're not going the way that they should. Just because it's not going how you wanted it to, doesn't mean it's not going the way that it should. It may be a struggle. It may be difficult. Like you may have a relationship that you thought was the one and it was going for forever and now it's over and you feel like you're missing out and you're not in the place that you wanted to be at, but maybe you're in the place that you needed to be at. Because maybe that relationship was never the one that God had for you. Maybe that relationship, God can see down the road and he could see the heartbreak that you were going to experience if you stayed there. Maybe that thing that hurt you and that broke off the career that you were trying to get started, maybe it's because God knew that really wasn't what you were best at and he had something better. Just because it's not going how you planned doesn't mean that it's not going how it should. It may be disappointing. It may be a struggle. It may be difficult, but we have to learn how to look for the opportunity even in the disappointment. Be willing to look and see, God, what opportunity is there in this heartbreak? What opportunity is there in this thing that I'm experiencing in this moment? No doubt it was disappointing. You don't think it was disappointing for Jesus to be on the cross and to see the people who welcomed him and praised him when he was coming in, now cursing him, throwing things at him, spitting at him? Of course it was disappointing. It was disappointing for him to see all of that. But that's what gave him the opportunity in order to give his life for you, for me, and for them. And if they never would have done it, then Jesus never would have been able to do what he was supposed to do. And what I love about Jesus so much is that he was a master at being able to flip the script. He can flip the script like so fast, just like boop. So fast. That's the next thing I want you to take notes on, is he could flip the script. They've crucified Jesus to a place he didn't belong. And in verse 34, it says, Jesus told him, he said, Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them. Time out. Hold up. Somebody comes and punches me in the face. I promise you, I got to listen to this message at least 2,500 times for my first response to be, Lord, forgive them. I may get there, but come on. Jesus is on the cross. He's looking at them. They're not even remorseful. They don't even feel bad. They're excited about it. And Jesus looks at him and he says, hey, Father, forgive them. He was more concerned with their well-being than his own. He was more concerned with the well-being of those who were crucifying him to a cross than he was with his own. This is amazing, because you look at me wrong, and I'm already not wishing for your well-being. But Jesus is in this moment, and he knew the secret that the enemy does not want you to know. And that's that the meaner that people are to you, the greater the opportunity for you to show them the love of Jesus. That's difficult. The meaner people treat you, the greater the opportunity for you to show the love of Jesus, the unconditional love of Jesus. The meaner they are, because it's easy to show love when people are praising you. It's easy to show love when people are talking nice about you. It's easy to show love when people are doing things for you. But true love, like Jesus, is shown when they're attacking. I can already tell I'm going to get some more emails from this series. Jesus is on the cross that they crucified him to, and he says, hey, God, Dad, he says, forgive them. They praised him while he came into the city. Now they're crucifying him on this cross, and the entire time, his love was steady. The entire time. He wasn't just loving them once he remembered, oh yeah, that's right, I'm going to give my life, I'm going to rise again. Oh, that's right, I get to rise again, that's cool. No. The whole time that they're yelling at him, beating him, putting him on the cross, he's sitting there with a steady love. And the way I know he was sitting there with a steady love is because at any moment, Jesus could have been like, boop, disappeared. Made you look. None of y'all getting saved. I'll try this again in 24 business days, right? Like, Jesus showed steady love the entire time. And the reality is that most people don't even realize that they're really doing what they're doing. He said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And so many people are living out of their hurt. They're living out of their rejection. They're living out of their pain. They're living out of their disappointment. And it does no good for us to retaliate out of the same. But what does bring change and what does help circumstances is to show love in the middle of those difficult moments. No matter what they're saying, no matter what they're doing, to be able to just sit there and be like, Jesus loves you. So I guess I do too. But he loves you. I'll put it to you like this. If something is on fire, you do not help put out the fire by starting another fire. You put out the fire by bringing like water or something, whatever, to suppress the fire. And as followers of Jesus, we are called to suppress the anger and the vitriol and the hatred and the pain and all these things with his love. With his love. And truthfully, some of us, we post things like, we're like, oh, I'm fine face-to-face with people because I'm not bold enough to say anything. But let me get behind a keyboard and a screen, and I will tear you up. I'm a wordsmith. I can just tell you everything about. Some of us, like, we're posting things online, on social media, whatever it may be, that do absolutely no good, that do not help in any way, shape, or form. All it does is stir up drama, start arguments, start fights, make people mad. And the reality is, and this is a newsflash, please don't get mad at me. Somebody say, I won't get mad. All right, if y'all just lied, you lied in church, so that's on you. But you're like your social, I see this all the time, like, oh my goodness. Your social media posts that you're so angry, like typing and everything, it's not gonna change anybody's mind. Like, everything that you spent 6 hours typing up, then you put it into Chat GPT so it made it sound better, and then you put it in, like, all these things, it's not gonna change anybody's mind. All it does is just stir up things. And some of y'all are like, well, it's my page, I'll post what I want. Correct, that's cool. Just make sure that if you're wanting to live a life as a follower of Jesus, that you check yourself, like, is my motive pure on this? Is what I'm saying pure? Is the reason I'm saying it just so that that one person who I'm talking about knows I'm talking about you? What's the reasoning? James 4:17, it says, to him who knows that they should do good and doesn't do it, to him it is sin. Oh, we don't like that word. That word doesn't exist anymore, but it's still real. It says, to him who knows to good that they ought to do and doesn't do it, to him it is sin. So if you know that you can't say you love someone while simultaneously stirring up drama and saying all these things, it's not holiness. But they said it first. They started it. Cool. But it's not up to you to do what they did the wrong way, but instead, the last thing I want you to see is it's up to you to show them the right way. Last thing, if you're taking notes, show them. Verse 34, part B, it says, for they do not know what they are doing. For they do not know. Now, if they don't know, and we're out here retaliating, putting fire on fire, how can they learn? It's up to us to be able to show them. And one of my greatest fears is to have somebody who I have influence over to die and to go before God and to say, I saw how Dustin treated me as a follower of Jesus, and I wanted nothing to do with it. What are you showing? As followers of Jesus, we are to show love. What are you showing? Somehow we've gotten to a place where we've lost the focus of eternity. We've stopped being eternal focused, and we're so focused on how we feel in that moment. How they made you feel in that moment, instead of how they're going to spend eternity. You know, Jesus has us on this earth for one purpose, and that's to help bring other people to him. But how can that happen if every time somebody does something to us, we're just retaliating? Just yesterday, see, y'all think you're having trouble with this series. Just yesterday, we had a situation where my wife and I and our 3 boys, we had gone, it had been a full, long day. We had been at this birthday party for a 5-year-old that was about 4 hours long, and it was an hour away. So that's an hour drive, 4 hours, an hour drive back with all 3 kids. Noah, the youngest baby, had napped, and we had to go to Dick's Sporting Goods right across the street. Literally across the street, okay? So you got the churches here, Dick's Sporting Goods over there across the street. And we're in there, and we had to get the baseball stuff for Elijah and middle boys starting baseball this year. So we had to get this stuff, and that in and of itself, I'm maxed. I'm done, right? And we're going and we're checking out. And as we're checking out, Noah, who we're trying to appease, has this bag of goldfish, and he drops the bag, and 3 goldfish fall out. And I'm trying to manage the older 2 and pay and get the stuff in the buggy, right? Nicole has Noah. She's trying to pick him up, and so that he doesn't eat the 3 goldfish that are on the ground, she kind of just moves them to the side like that, right? Just for a second, so she can pick him up. And this lady who was checking out in the register across from us said something. Now, I didn't hear it. This is the protection of the Lord. Because I told y'all, like a year ago, I let everybody know, there was a situation at Walmart where somebody had said something to my wife, Nicole, and it just, I had to remind myself, hey, I had to repent from it. So we're walking out. I had no idea anything had happened. We're walking out of Dick's Sporting Goods, and this lady comes, and she bumps Nicole and walks by her, and Nicole said, she was like, thank you so much for picking up those goldfish for me. Because I later found out, and when Nicole said that, I was like, oh, that was so nice of that lady. Wow, for her to pick up the goldfish. But she just shook her head, so I thought it was weird. And then we get in the car, and Nicole says, did you hear what happened? And I said, no. She said, I knew you didn't because you just said something. And come to find out, this lady from across from us saw Nicole move the goldfish over and goes, who thinks that it's okay to do that? Comes over, picks up the goldfish, and is like, do y'all have a trash can for me to throw these away? And it so shook the people who were checking us out, even they just were frozen apparently. So when we're walking out though, this is what was amazing to me. Because if I'd have heard it, I might not be preaching today. I might let somebody else preach today. But she said some other smart aleck remarks. And as we're walking out, what really struck me is that Nicole so genuinely said to her, thank you so much for picking up those goldfish for me. Whereas I would have wanted to be like, and she told me, she said, I don't know what it is about, having to get tested so close to the church all the time. But she said, I wanted to show her kindness because she said, I didn't really know what she was going through. She said, I didn't know why she's acting that way. Maybe she's lost a loved one. Maybe she's having a bad day with her kids the way we're having a bad day with our kids. But she said, I just wanted her to feel loved in the midst of it all. And I'm sitting there like, that's how we are to live as followers of Jesus. That no matter what somebody does to us, as rude as they can be, that we're like, I don't know what you're going through, and I know I've had some bad days, and I know when I went through my bad days, I didn't want somebody judging me for everything I did on that day. So you're good. Have a nice day. How different our lives would look if we made the decision that no matter what is done, we're going to show love. It saves you from having to think, how far can I go without sinning here? What can I say that's the line before I've sinned? How hard can I slap them before it's the line of like, the answer's the same every time. God, forgive them. Help me to forgive them. Go about our day. Jesus on the cross, and he said, hey, listen. He said, it's not up to others to control you. It's not up to others to control how you respond. It's not even up to others to treat you in such a way to where you want to show them love. It's not up to them. It's up to you to control the way that you respond. It's up to you to say, you know what? Woo. Forgive him, Lord. And help me not to see him again. Thank you. But it's not up to everybody else. We put the blame on everybody else. Well, they made me do it. They forced me. No. They did what they did, but you chose your response. And maybe live a life like Jesus that says, hey, no matter how I'm looked at, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, I'm not going to allow what they did to cause me to affect my relationship with him, with Jesus, to be like him. But it's up to you. It's up to you.